Our Place in Space. Adventures in Science Series. General Electric. The Earthmen reached for the moon and made it. Two young Earthmen in particular, Johnny Powers and his friend Bill, discuss the movie they've just seen for the third time. Sure, it's science fiction now, but so were jet planes and atomic subs. Later, in the Powers' backyard, Johnny's brother, Ed, joins the discussion. Do you really think we could be missile men someday, Johnny? Why, you boys have been launching missiles for years, and don't even seem to know it. What do you mean, Ed? A missile is any object thrown at a target. Every time you do this, you're launching a missile. Catch. Then here goes a guided missile. Not in today's terms, Bill. Today, guided missile has a special meaning. It's a craft flying above the Earth's surface, whose flight path can be guided or changed by interior mechanism. How does it get up there? What guides it? How about satellites? What makes them stay up? Hold it! First things first, men. Let's start off with three principles. Gravity, for one. That's a cinch. Gravity is a force that pulls objects, like this ball, toward the center of the Earth. Fine, Johnny. Now, how about a bike riding demonstration to illustrate the next principle, centrifugal force? Notice when you have to lean inward to overcome the bike's tendency to lean outward when going around in a circle? It's centrifugal force that impels all objects away from the center of the Earth. I guess you could call it the opposite of gravity, couldn't you? Right. And our third principle is inertia, the property of a body that keeps it traveling in uniform motion on the same straight line, like that ball sailing across the yard. That ball would travel in a straight line if the force of gravity didn't pull it back to Earth. Now, in getting a satellite into orbit, the trick is to get it going fast enough so that the force of gravity is just canceled out by the centrifugal force. And inertia keeps it going. Right. But to do this, it must be beyond the atmosphere, or air drag will make it fall back to the Earth. Since a space vehicle can't push against the air the way a propeller of an airplane does to get it up to the right speed, it is powered by a rocket or reaction motor. It was Sir Isaac Newton who observed, "Every action produces a reaction, which is equal in force and opposite in direction." That's how our lawn sprinkler works. It sprays water in one direction, and by this very action, spins itself around in the opposite direction. It's a modern example of a principle known for centuries. If that's so, how come nobody invented rockets before this? Oh, but they did. As far back as 1232 AD, the Chinese warred with arrows of fire, gunpowder rockets in which hot expanding gases blasting downward caused a reaction that sent the head and body flying upward toward the enemy. The ancient Romans devised a military engine called ballista, built like a huge crossbow to aim and hurl missiles at the opposition. Rockets, in the form of bursting fireworks, have filled the night skies with color and brilliance since the 9th century. And in the War of 1812, the British used ship-launched rockets, immortalized in the rocket's red glare of our Star-Spangled Banner, to shell Fort McHenry in Baltimore. But it wasn't until World War II that really powerful artillery rockets were developed, marking the beginning of the age of space. Roger, I read you loud and clear, Ed, but how do guided missiles actually work? Maybe this TV show will help, Johnny. Later that evening, to tell you something about the anatomy of a missile, how it works, its various uses, and also take you behind the scenes at a missile launching. Here is a scale model of the well-known Vanguard, the American rocket, whose first satellite is the longest now in orbit, still sending us a wealth of important information. Now let's look at the guided missile's basic parts. The guidance system masterminds the missile, tells it where to go, knows where it is at any moment, where it should be. Sensitive, precise, it must measure the effects of gravity, upper air currents, and the thrust of the propulsion system. The payload, housed in the nose cone, is the missile's real reason for being. This can be an explosive charge, a separate satellite package, or instruments to record scientific data. The internal or accessory power system provides the necessary power to operate equipment aboard the missile before, during, and after the action of the main propulsion engine. The propulsion system pushes the missile into space. Every rocket engine contains a supply of fuel and oxidizer, the propellant, and there are several different types, both liquid and solid. The airframe keeps the missile and its parts intact, protecting it under extreme, rapidly changing pressures and temperatures. Missiles are built for specific uses: air to air, surface to surface, air to surface, surface to air, underwater to surface, and, most exciting and complicated of all, the space missile. The Vanguard was built in 3 sections or stages, mounted one atop the other, each carrying its own rocket motor. How do 3-stage missiles work? 1. The first, bottom stage is the largest and strongest, for it must thrust the entire vehicle to a height of about 38 miles, pushing through layers of air at their thickest, and the pull of gravity at its strongest. 2. Having done its work and burned out, the bottom stage drops off, greatly lightening the load. Now, the second stage engine takes over and pushes the rocket even higher and faster, directing its course. The brain, the control of the entire rocket, lies in this section. 3. At the correct height and position, it drops off, first giving the top, third stage a spinning motion to keep it properly oriented on the right path. Now, far lighter and well above gravity and air friction, the third stage speeds along at 18,000 miles an hour. 4. Finally, at the 300-mile mark, it ejects the payload, a special satellite package, into orbit around the Earth. This satellite sphere, made of many metals, is packed with instruments to measure scientific data and transmit it back to Earth. Eventually, the satellite falls back into the Earth's atmosphere, where it is consumed by the heat of friction. But its knowledge is not lost. Its tiny radio has signaled its discoveries back to Earth. The first Vanguard satellite, only 6 inches in diameter, is expected to stay up for 200 years. And now, let's visit Cape Canaveral, Florida, missile testing grounds, for an actual launching of a spacecraft, perhaps the most thrilling spectacle of our times. The ground support equipment and facilities on which a successful launching depends are almost as complicated as the missiles themselves. On certain missiles, a missile exerciser checks out the control system before the missile is moved to the launch site. A checkout bench, a complex system performs 100 tests on the missile's electronic equipment. Then 40 checks on itself to be sure it's right. On the launching pad, the missile body stands upright and the nose cone is put on before rolling away the gantries, the steel towers which support the rocket while it is in place. About 1,000 feet away is the blast-proof blockhouse, a control room furnished with intricate instruments, manned by highly trained specialists and top government observers. The countdown starts. Men and machines check out the equipment one by one. As each vital detail is covered, the backward counting continues. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and the firing button is pushed. Burning fuel at a fantastic rate, the rocket moves, slowly at first. Then, as the flaming, high-pressure gases blast out the tail end at 4,500 miles an hour, reaction force exerts a giant push and propels the missile into the skies. The minute the show ends, "Boy, did you see that thing take off? I'd sure like to have been in that blockhouse at the countdown." I've got an idea for you two. Ask Bill if he'd like to learn more about missiles from a man who helps make them. I don't have to ask. When do we start? Next morning, Dr. Harris is one of the hundreds of scientists in General Electric's missile program. He'll tell you many interesting things, provided they're not classified. After the introductions are made, of course you boys realize that the subject of missiles is so broad and complex, I couldn't cover it in a lifetime. Throughout the country, hundreds of companies, thousands of scientists, engineers, builders, and even some well-educated animals are busily at work, each adding specific skill and knowledge to the growth and development of the U.S. missile program. So the best I can do is give you a little idea of what some of us at GE are doing. For instance, at Syracuse, New York, Defense Electronics Division headquarters, pioneer in early radar research, we produce and develop advanced electronic systems for the armed forces. Here we developed the guidance system for Air Force's Atlas intercontinental ballistic missile. So accurate, so precise is this radio command guidance system that it sent Atlas right down the rifle barrel, onto the bullseye, a target position far off in the South Atlantic, 6,000 miles away. Now let's travel to Pittsfield, Massachusetts, home of the Atlas Guidance Tracker, a vital part of the guidance system. Following the missile in its powered phase, the tracker reports the exact position to the guidance computers, signaling the flight controls that direct the missile to the target. High on the Rocky Mountain top stands a strange building, specially constructed, remote, free from vibrations. Here, these delicate, sensitive trackers are assembled and tested under the strictest conditions. Since even invisible dust particles may disturb the fine balance of a tracker, employees in nylon suits must pass through an air bath vacuum cleaner. Their shoes are cleaned by a power-driven machine. And doors open and lock electronically, one at a time, to keep the filtered air pure and super clean. Fire control equipment is being developed at Pittsfield for U.S. destroyers carrying Tartar, a surface-to-air anti-aircraft missile to track targets moving at supersonic speed, illuminate them, and supply their position, and for Navy's Polaris, an underwater-to-surface operation to compute the sub's position, motions, and target location, so the missile will be aimed at the target. Now, here's Utica, New York, where we concentrate on airborne and space electronics. Do you boys know anything about Sidewinder? Yes, sir. It's an air-to-air missile used by the Navy and Air Force and United Nations. GE's Utica plant produces the infrared guidance device of this aircraft rocket, which is guided by the heat of the target itself. Sidewinder is so accurate, it has shot a flare pot off the wing of a plane at a range of several miles. Back in 1943, we began to explore the mysterious infrared ray, whose longer wavelengths give it special properties. Now at Ithaca, we are delving into new and exciting scientific uses. This invisible ray, which can be measured and transmitted, is at last being put to work in tracking systems that the enemy cannot detect. Now, let's move on to Evandale, Ohio, where metals and ceramics are being developed and improved to boost missile performance. New techniques have produced missile components that withstand the flame temperature of 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Evandale Research has produced improved cases for solid propellants, the simplest and most practical of missile fueling systems. And at the Malta, New York rocket test station, advanced versions of the liquid rocket engine, which powered the first stage of Vanguard, are being developed and tested. And now, can you boys guess what this object is? It looks like a toy electronic tube, Dr. Harris. This toy, developed by GE at Owensboro, Kentucky, is one of our mightiest messengers from outer space. Used as a transmitting tube in Pioneer 4, this tiny object of metal and ceramic continued to send information to Earth long after the satellite passed the Moon and entered its orbit around the Sun, a distance of more than 400,000 miles, an all-time communications record. To describe our work at Lynn, Massachusetts, I'll tell you about North America's X-15. Only 50 feet long, it's the most advanced rocket to carry a human being and bring him to the fringes of space. Launched from the underside of a B-52 jet bomber, rocket and pilot race over 100 miles in the upper atmosphere at a speed of over 3,600 miles an hour. There, man and machine record the effects of extreme altitude flight for future space voyagers. Is the X-15 launched from the bomber by a reaction motor, like a regular rocket? Yes, and also an auxiliary power unit, developed by General Electric, to produce all the power necessary to keep the pilot alive and bring the space research plane back to Earth. You see, Johnny, a rocket engine provides only propulsion. You need a separate source of power after the engine has died out to keep the pilot warm and operate the guidance systems and the communication and recording equipment, and operate the speed brakes, landing flaps, and controls that bring man and machine back to safety. Already, GE scientists are working on new power sources that stagger the imagination, such as a device that needs no fuel, has no moving parts, and will produce electricity forever. This is interesting because in 1955, David Sarnoff, chairman of RCA, wrote something similar. He wrote, "A few years ago, the Radio Corporation of America publicly demonstrated an atomic battery. The potentials of such a battery are enormous. With it, atomic energy will no longer be used to make steam, to make electric current. There will be a direct conversion of nuclear energy into electricity." He also wrote, "I do not hesitate to forecast that atomic batteries will be commonplace long before 1980. Last, a quick trip to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where, as part of a science industry government team, GE works on missile re-entry vehicles for the U.S. Air Force. Housing the payload, a nuclear warhead, the re-entry vehicle must be made of materials to shield it from the fantastic heat generated as it plunges back into the atmosphere from outer space, from a peak height of close to 1,000 miles. To test re-entry vehicle materials and shapes for heat resistance, GE scientists devised a shock tunnel in which specimens are exposed to hypersonic shock waves and a large air arc that produces temperatures up to 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. When a test vehicle is fired, missile engineers on Earth need a complete record of its performance. How can they get this information out of space? The vehicle's radio relays to Earth all important data on the environment encountered, as well as on the vehicle's own performance. Then, to back up this information, the vehicle also carries the Missile Data Recovery Capsule, developed in Philadelphia. This electronic messenger records flight information. Shortly before the re-entry vehicle plunges into the ocean, the capsule is thrown free. On striking water, it sends radio signals, releases dye markers, detonates a bomb, and activates a flashing light. Planes and ships alerted to its location find and recover the capsule, which is later opened to yield its tape-recorded information. Recent capsules have also carried cameras containing the first photos from outer space of the Earth and Sun, taken from a traveling space vehicle. Life support. Maintaining life in outer space is an important study here. Mice, monkeys, and man all must be protected by a special life cell with an internal temperature of around 75 degrees Fahrenheit. GE is continually preparing for the ultimate goal, manned interplanetary flight. For example, to protect our spaceman against the enormous forces of gravity in takeoff and re-entry, he may travel in an individually tailored contour seat, molded from a plaster cast of his own body in flight position. As the visit ends, "Thanks, Dr. Harris. It was a great guided tour." That was only a quick look, but I think you've gotten the idea. We're a large team, pooling our skills and knowledge to launch America into space as swiftly and mightily as we can. I guess guided missiles are the most powerful weapons in history. They are. Already, they've increased our knowledge of the universe, helped us to find new techniques of weather observation, new methods of cosmic ray studies, new communications. And in the future, who knows? Perhaps we'll be taking monorail trains and air taxis to the nearest spaceport, ready to take off for Mars or Venus. On the launching pads, ground crews will service and refuel the ships. Into the space liner we'll go. Then the countdown. 3, 2, 1, 0. With a mighty roar, we're off on our interplanetary transport. Off on a visit to another world. Maybe not tomorrow, next week, or next year. But GE is working on it. Today. General Electric. This booklet has been prepared by the Educational Relations and Support Service with the cooperation of the following departments of the company: Heavy Military Electronics and Defense System Departments, Ordnance Department, Light Military Electronics Department, Receiving Tube Department, Aircraft Accessory, Turbine, and Small Aircraft Engine Departments, Missile and Space Vehicle Department, the Flight Propulsion Laboratory Department. Educational Relations, Department MWH, General Electric Company, Schenectady 5, New York.